now like to begin the meeting, starting with number 6 on the for information page, recording of the meeting. So this meeting will be recorded this evening. Item number 7, public participation. Members of the public will be given an opportunity excuse me, to address councillors present at this meeting regarding agenda items. Members of the public will also be given an opportunity to discuss town council activities not on the current agenda after the close of the meeting. Do any members of the public here this evening wish to speak about any of the agenda items on the agenda this evening? Please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. We shall proceed then with the agenda. So item number 1, standing orders. This is to adopt amendments to our standing orders to meet the statutory requirements for the holding of remote virtual meetings. This will last until May the 7th, 2021, or until the repeal of legislation, whichever is the earlier. So I'm sure you've all had a chance to have a look at the standing order amendments which have been circulated. Andrew, would you like to add comments?
Chairman, I haven't got any further comments to make other than these suggested standing orders were provided to us by DALC and CALC, the Cornwall Association of Local Councils, as recommended best practice in accordance with the new legislation that's been published, and so they're fit for purpose in terms of our meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have all councillors had a chance to have a look through these standing orders, and do any councillors wish to make any comments before we go to a vote? Please raise your hand if any councillor wishes to speak. Okay, thank you. So I shall take that we go forward to adopt these standing order amendments. Can all those in favour of adopting these amendments please raise your hand now?
I think that's unanimous, Chairman.
Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you. So then moving on to item number 2, the remote meetings protocol. This is paper that's been circulated as well. Council is recommended to approve the remote meetings protocol and to amend the council's public participation scheme to be active from and at the June Town Council meeting. So I'm sure you've all had a chance to have a look at this remote meetings protocol. Andrew, would you like to add any comments on this?
No further comments, Chairman. It's just recommended guidance on how to conduct ourselves in virtual meetings, so nothing major, and hopefully it's amenable to everybody, but happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Thank you. Do any councillors wish to ask any questions? Please raise your hand. I can't see any hands. Okay, thank you. So I shall take that we proceed to adopt this. Can all those councillors in favour of adopting this please raise your hand now?
Thank you, Chairman. That all looks unanimous.
Okay, excellent, thank you. I've just had a message up on my screen saying that we're streaming live on Facebook. Exciting. Okay, moving on to item number 3, apologies for absence.
Chairman, I've not received any. Councillor James was intending to make the meeting via telephone, so I would tender his apologies if he's not able to make it, but he certainly had every intention of doing so. Okay,
thank you. So all those in favour of going for Councillor, his apologies if he's unable to attend, please raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, so item number 4 on the agenda, agreement of the agenda between parts 1 and 2. We do not have a part 2, so that's fine. Moving on to item number 5, declarations of interest. to receive and consider requests for dispensation, if any.
No request, Chairman, received.
Thank you. So moving on then to item number 7, to approve, sign and adopt the minutes of the Town Council meeting, which was held on the 17th of March 2020. That was our emergency planning 17th of March meeting. Can all councillors, if you're happy to adopt those as correct, please raise your hand.
Thank you, Chairman, that's unanimous.
Thank you, thank you. So I'll request that signing be deferred until I can sign. Thank you. Okay, item number 8 then.
Chairman, if I can just interject, there was another set of minutes that required approving, which is on the 4th of March, but these will now be submitted at the June meeting.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I omitted to say that. Sorry, thank you. So agenda item number 8, the minutes of committees for adoption. So to receive the minutes of the following committees for adoption, members are requested to refer to the Town Council's website to review said minutes. So we've got the Civic Amenities Committee, which was held on the 19th of February, and the Planning Committee, which was held on the 26th of February.
Madam Chair, I would like to put forward the Civic Amenities minutes from the 19th of February for adoption, please.
Thank you. All those in favour of adopting those minutes, please raise your hand. Excellent. Thank you. And then the Planning Committee agenda from the 26th of February.
Madam Chair, I'd like to present the minutes for the planning meeting on the 26th of February, which seems a long time ago now, for approval by committee.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin-Bradbury. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So now moving on to Town Clerk's report. Please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chairman. Well, it's we're sort of making history. Our first virtual meeting. Hopefully, it's going to go smoothly, and it appears to be so far. We've got members of the public here as well, and all but one councillor who was intending to be here, so that's pretty good going. First of all, I'd like to start off by saying a massive thank you to our staff who have adapted and worked flexibly over the past 6-7 weeks. It's not been easy for everybody. Yola's currently in Bideford, but is working fine on the end of year and our final internal audit inspection. Angie's been mainly in the office, leading our response, our local response with the Helping Dawlish and other organisations, which has really taken off and benefiting people in the parish. And then to Manda and Don for carrying on looking after the waterfowl and making sure the office ticks over nicely. The other member of staff is currently in isolation. He's well, but following guidance, he is in isolation, so not currently at work. Tomorrow I'm attending a larger councils committee of DALC. The last one was attended by 71 councils on Zoom, so we've got 22, so this should be small fry compared to that, but it really does show how useful this software is. And in those forums, they're sharing some really good best practice for what we can do in the town councils and parish councils to aid local people, and how we tomorrow we're specifically going to be looking at, given the announcement that's coming on Sunday, how we may begin to reopen partially, more fully, we don't know, but we're looking at ways that we can do that to try and get people perhaps using the Manor House again, so long as we can meet the appropriate protections, but that's obviously work in progress. The other updates I could give will be coming up later in the agenda. So for now, Chairman, that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you. And so now going on to my reports. So welcome all councillors to this new council year. It is an honour to continue as Mayor of Dawlish for another term. Since our last face-to-face meeting in March, where we made contingency plans, there has been the collaboration of local organisations to form the Essential Crisis Support Network helping Dawlish. A big thank you and shout out to all staff, councillors and all who have helped with volunteering to help others in our parish, and the collaboration of local groups together that is helping Dawlish. Thank you to all our local key workers, doctors, nurses, social care workers, farmers and food producers, waste bin collectors, delivery drivers, the posties, news agents and all shop staff. And thank you to our local shops in Dawlish for adapting your shops for social distancing and new online shopping through websites. This is an extremely worrying and stressful time for us all. However, I have been delighted by all the positives and the goodwill in Dawlish and the care and dedication of local residents for their neighbours. There was a good number of entries to the virtual Dawlish Easter bonnet competition, and well done to all the young people who entered with their handcrafted bonnets. The virtual Dawlish in Bloom lockdown garden competition is now open with the closing date at the end of this month. I am pleased to report that my chosen charities during my past mayoral year, the Open Door, the RNLI and AIMS, will each be receiving £310. The charities that I have chosen to support during this mayoral year will be the Friends of Dawlish Hospital and the RNLI. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to county councillors' reports. We did receive a report by email. I'm sure, and that has been circulated to you all. Are there any questions about that? Okay.
Councillor Taylor.
Yes, Councillor Taylor, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to fill in a few gaps with regard to the link road. I've had an update from our planning officer who deals with these matters today to say that we are in contract with Homes England. The funding agreement between Devon and Teignbridge has been drafted and is to be finalised, although that should be a formality. And things are moving ahead. Let me put it like that. At the moment, there are some sensitivities. We're probably best not to talk about in public. But just to let you know that it is moving ahead. So don't be if there were any alarm bells ringing because of the report from John Clatworthy, I can assure members that we are where we should be with regard to the link road and the various agreements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Taylor. Thank you. Any other councillors wishing to comment, or we move on? Okay, thank you. So item number 12 then, district councillors' reports. To receive reports of district councillors. Any district councillors wishing to give reports this evening? Please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. So then we move on to item number 13, town councillors' reports. To receive reports of any town councillors, please raise your hand if you wish. Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry, Chairman, I believe Councillor Main wishes to speak.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Main, please go ahead.
This isn't a report, it's just something I think I ought to say, that working with Helping Dawlish, I've been working hand in hand with Angie and Byron and Andrew and everybody else that's involved there. And I want to give my thanks to all the hard work that everyone's putting in, especially Angie. I think she's going over and above what I don't think she realised what she was signing up for when she signed up for this job. And we've had some tearful days, we've had some emotional days, and we've had some really good responses. And I just want to say thank you very much. And that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Thank you.
And Councillor Tamlin, I believe, wishes to speak.
Please go ahead, Councillor Tamlin.
Can I suggest we actually applaud them
Yes, okay.
here and now?
No.
Okay, any other councillors wishing to comment? Okay. Moving on then to, what item number were we? Moving on then to, sorry, item number 14, decisions made under delegated authority. This is to note the decisions made by the town clerk in accordance with the scheme of delegations since the 17th of March. So the paper has been circulated. I'm sure you've all had a chance to read it. It's just to note the decisions. Andrew, would you like to comment at all?
Nothing further to add, Chairman, save for the remedial works to the Manor House has begun this week. So hopefully they'll be concluded in the next, well, probably next week now, but it's well underway.
Okay,
Councillor Wrigley wishes to speak.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Wrigley.
I saw the pictures of the canopy falling down, but could you just give a little bit of elaboration upon what actually happened and what's going to be done to it?
Yeah, so the canopy was rotten, basically, and I was led to believe that the canopy was reinstated in the year 2000. However, this apparently is not the case, and what's actually come away is the original fixings. So we're talking just over 200 years old, and the wood is literally crumbling when you touch it. So the TJ Smith, who are carrying out the works, did the opposite end about 6 years ago, and they had bespoke replacements made from a specialist company. They took photos of the fixings that had gone this time, sent them off, and those are in the stages of being manufactured at the moment, and that will be then put back in place. And we have taken advice from the conservation officer, and they're happy with that we're not changing any material, instances with the canopy. So they're more than happy with that.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Any other comments from councillors? Okay, thank you. So then we move on to...
Chairman, sorry, I just need you to vote to note that report, please.
Sorry. Yes, Councillor Powers, I can see you've got your hand up.
I was going to vote, sorry.
Oh, right, okay, yes, I'm coming to that. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this. So all councillors, please, in favour of noting those, please raise your hand now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So then moving on to item number 15, a financial update, to receive and note a verbal update from the town clerk regarding financial matters relating to the town council.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm sure if I get anything wrong, the finance officer will jump in and correct me, so I will just unmute Yola just in case. Basically, members, when we closed the Manor House on the 18th of March, we cancelled all bookings. And from the 18th of March to the end of June, that equated to bookings that had already been pre-booked, a loss of £10,000 in income. When you compared that with last year, the same period, we brought in 20,000, and what we noticed was the other 10,000 came from ad hoc bookings, where people may have booked on the day or a couple of days before for various reasons. It also includes any weddings, although we didn't have any booked in for that period. Angie will correct me if I'm wrong. So we are looking at a £20,000 loss on our Manor House and Riverside income from March to June. we've communicated this with NALC and DALC, as they are lobbying central government that it's not just counties and district councils that need funding. Town councils are also, and parish councils are also taking the hit. 20,000 amounts to about 2.5–3% of our budget, but if that was to go on further, then obviously it becomes quite a sizable chunk. Which is why we're obviously keen to try and get users back into the Manor House as soon as it is safe to do so and practical. I am aware that we've applied for the business rate relief from Teignbridge but weren't successful, but we are allowed to challenge that, and we are going to, because we have since been told by DALC that both Chudley, who has an income of around 50,000, received £10,000 within 3 days of applying, and Newton Abbot Town Council were also successful in receiving monies, although I'm not sure what amount, on their new Newton's Place building, which will house the museum and the town council there. So we'd like to understand why we weren't successful, because those monies will obviously be a very welcome buffer to anything we may potentially lose. So Yola, was there anything else you'd like to add on that particular point?
Not really. When we were quite quick off the mark to apply for these things, and certainly when I contacted Teignbridge, there was a bit of confusion as to which grant, which thing would apply to us, and they said to wait for the results to come through. And of course, it came through that the Manor House is a government building and offices. So they did say that we could put in information about, obviously, that we hire rooms. That was something that was relayed over the phone. But again, at the time, they were also on skeleton staff like we are. So I have no doubt, obviously, if other councils have got it, that will be challenged. And obviously I can speak to them beforehand to find out what differences they made or how they applied.
Yeah, and we will be applying for the business support grant, as again, Chudley was successful in receiving monies from that fund. So again, it would be good to know. And I may learn more tomorrow at the DALC meeting, which councils have been successful and which haven't. Yola's also currently just concluded our end of year with RBS, our finance suppliers, and unless anything is different, I think that's all gone quite well.
Yes,
And now Yola is in the process of handing over all the documents to Stuart Pollard, our internal auditor, so that he can complete his end of year internal audit, ready for the external audit coming up in the next few months. So Yola, did you have anything else to add on those points?
No, not really. I think given the working style and everything, I think everything went as well as it could be. It was just a full conference call day that we went through everything. Obviously, it's an unusual year because we've, unfortunately with the events, we had some cancellations that were rolled forward into May, which were then obviously prepaid, or some of them were prepaid for next year and then had to be refunded out next year. So there was quite a bit of new challenging things to resolve, but I think we certainly did it. So I'm quite happy with the information that we've sent across to Stuart. I think we're in quite a good situation, really.
Yeah, I mean, we will save on the PRS and PPL licenses as well for things that aren't happening with our events. Obviously, we are going to be losing some event income. Also, our waterfowl donations are down because obviously there's not that many people out and about at the moment. So, you know, we are being hit from all angles currently, but luckily our reserves are healthy, that we, you know, we'll be able to dip into that. But obviously we will need to bear this in mind when we begin to set our budget for next year. So, Chairman, that's all I've got to say, unless Yola's got any other specific financial points, and then we've obviously got some people wishing to speak.
No, I don't think so. Only other than obviously the usual reports that would go to F&GP, because we have to wait for the close down that goes through with RBS. Obviously, they would have been done too close to this meeting to obviously submit in any way. So expect those reports to follow. And obviously, I need to liaise with Andrew and obviously other clerks to find out how those will be submitted.
Okay, thank you very much to Yola, and thank you, Andrew. I can see there's quite a few hands raised. So I saw Councillor Terry Lowther's hand raised first. So would you like to go ahead, Councillor Lowther?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, there were a couple of points. Yola has answered a couple of the questions that I had. Thank you, Yola. That's exactly the information I need. The other really was for you, Town Clerk, as encouraging you to make those claims against Teignbridge and whoever else you need to make. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but the government minister on television tonight was boasting about how well the money had been spread down the tree And the gentleman from the Yorkshire Press said, hang on, it's not come far as the town councils and the parish councils. And the minister said, if you haven't got it, shout and you'll get it.
We'll be shouting very loudly.
I think I'm encouraging you to shout very loudly, if you will, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowther. Thank you, Councillor Martin Heath.
I actually just stole what I was going to say, because I watched that broadcast, the community secretary as well, and he did say to ask first of all your major council, which is us, Teambridge, because he said it, if you're spending more money than you would normally, especially if it's helping the community, then you should be able to get some more money. So we definitely need to queue up there.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Heath. Thank you. Angie, I've seen you've got your hand.
I just wanted to say that obviously regarding the events budget, all the events have been cancelled till the end of June. And in reality, we didn't have that many deposits paid up front. And those that we did have will be carried forward to 2021. So I'm expecting that a lot of the budget will be unspent for events.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Petherick, would you like to go ahead? I saw your hand.
John, there we go.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Thank you for that. Yes. I mean, looking sort of forward to the next 6 months, I mean, potentially we're going to lose at least 30k and possibly 60k, aren't we? I mean, I presume that we're not paying for cleaning as much as we were, and also utilities. So there is a slight saving there.
Yeah, I can confirm we're not paying full cleaning.
That's right. So there is a slight saving there, and reference was made to the money not coming down from the top of the tree. Well, at Teambridge, this will probably cost Teambridge about £10 million, because I mean the car park loss of income is phenomenal, and yet there has been some money that's cascaded down from central government via county council. And that's 1.5 million that Teambridge has got, but there's still going to be a deficit of Teambridge of 8.5 million. So it is very, very serious. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Any other councillors wishing to speak before we go ahead to vote to accept this financial update? Any other? So all councillors in favour of accepting this, please raise your hand. Excellent, thank you. Thank you. So now moving on to item number 16, the Helping Dawlish update. So thank you very much to Angie for putting this report together. So it's to receive and note an update regards the Town Council lead Helping Dawlish project in response to the pandemic. Angie, would you like to add any comments?
I think there's only two things since the paper was really written. One is there is a full page ad going in the newspaper tomorrow, which is both a mayoral message about helping Dawlish and also to do with the VE 75 stay-at-home celebrations. Secondly, that due to being at VE 75 weekend, as you'll see from the report, we've been doing fish and chips to socially isolated people or shielded people on a fortnightly basis. And I spoke with Councillor Lowther and Councillor Goodman-Bradbury and yourself, the Mayor, to ask for permission to have an extra night of fish and chips for the same purpose, and that was agreed. So Friday night and Saturday night we'll be delivering about 60 hot fish and chip suppers to raise the spirits of people locally. It's done on a referral basis, although tomorrow we will open that referral basis up wider. And I'd just like to tell councillors that even today, we have a fresh meal delivery that goes out once a week. And today, Dawlish Community Transport delivered 50 fresh meals to families locally, which included a number of crumbles and soups. And I have to say that a lot of the food that we're able to supply has been donated. And we've had some very generous donations, and the community has really responded for the parish of Dawlish.
Thank you, Angie. That's tremendous, and thank you for all that you're doing, and thank you for everybody for all that you're doing during this. Do any councillors wish to add any comments or say anything? Yes, Councillor Prowse, I can see you've got your hand up.
Thank you. A personal thank you to Angie for helping out with a very difficult and isolated lady. And I am assuming that, as everybody knows, that there's a 2-minute silence tomorrow at 11 o'clock for VE Day. I'm not certain that everybody is aware of this, but that is the case, and I would like to think that no, not tomorrow, it's Thursday. You lose track of days when you're in isolation. Friday, there's a 2-minute silence at 11 o'clock.
If I may be permitted, Councillor Foden, the Mayor, to talk to and explain that there is a poster that's gone out. We have got VE Day stay-at-home celebrations, and the poster has gone out, which is 11 o'clock advertising the 2-minute silence. Also the toast to the nation at 3 p.m. And there will also be, the flag will be raised down at the TIC by one individual, and one individual in their garden in Dawlish will play the last post at 2:55 on Friday afternoon. If you are listening out, you may hear it. And then on Sunday, I would invite you all to go to the Churches Together in Dawlish website, where there will be a video available all day of a pre-recorded service that includes Tribute to the Millions by the Mayor, a poem read by Councillor Marwood, the Deputy Mayor, plus contributions from the British Legion and both Reverend Dallas Ayling and Mark Jones from Dawlish Christian Fellowship, and that is available all day Sunday.
Thank you very much, Angie, and thank you for your work in putting all of that together. Thank you. Any other councillors wish to comment? Yes, sorry, Councillor Moorhood, please go ahead.
I suppose in some ways it's premature because we don't know how long this is going to go on for. But in view of the tremendous amount of work that's been coordinated, mainly I think by Angie and some of our other councillors and the other representatives of all these other organisations, I would like to propose that we have a formal vote of thanks in these minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Moorhood, and I can see quite a few hands to second that. So can we vote to accept that, to go for that, please?
Thank you, Chairman.
Excellent, thank you, unanimous, thank you. Okay, so now we've got an urgent item that came, an urgent item request from Councillor Wrigley for this evening's agenda. Councillor Wrigley, would you like to go ahead?
Yes, it was a suggestion from a local resident who, having seen who had a trip to Darts Farm to get supplies, and at Darts Farm they found outside of the shop simple facilities for washing your hands. Now, whilst there are sort of hand sanitizers and all the rest of it, actually having that facility outside of the shop door for people to wash their hands does seem to make a lot of sense. It's something that she suggested we might like to encourage Sainsbury's to do locally, and perhaps even look at as shops in the high street become more opened up, if there's any opportunities for putting a couple of such facilities along the high street. It's not something I'm suggesting that we do, it's just I'm suggesting that we write to Sainsbury's and write to the Chamber of Trade to see if there is an opportunity for them to put such facilities together. And we also write to Teambridge, because I'm told that the several of the toilets in town are closed, so there are no hand washing facilities there. So this came as a surprise to find that those toilets were closed, because I'd understood the toilets were staying open. But putting in the hand washing facilities outside the shops, and if we had just one or two along the high street, seems to be a sensible idea. There may be convenient outside taps. Yes, it won't be all plush, but a simple hand washing station might be a helpful thing to do.
Thank you, Councillor Wrigley. I think that's a really good idea, and I think it would encourage good hygiene going forward. I've seen quite a few hands raised. I think I saw Councillor Woods. Did you have your hands raised? Oh, you're just flicking the screen. Okay, Councillor Heath and then Councillor Prowse.
Yeah, it was just that a few weeks back I was speaking to our PC, Mark, what is Holden, is it?
Hogan.
Hogan, that's the one. And he said that he was talking to Teambridge and they were going to close the toilets because of stopping people going out. And I didn't actually think that was a good idea. So I really agree. I think we should rethink this one and go back to Teambridge and say that not only should they be open, but there should be some sort of soap thing in there that people can't steal to wash their hands. It seems quite logical.
Thank you, Councillor Heath. Thank you. I agree with that. Councillor, who was it? Councillor Prowse, you had your hand.
Well, I was going to. I agree with Councillor Heath. You know, people are still coming down for things like the meat and so forth, and I have noticed that the toilets were at the beginning of this lockdown left open, but now they are no longer open at all anywhere in the town. And we have still got a lot of elderly people who live very locally, who shop locally, and maybe need the toilets. Apart from, I agree about the hand washing, but I do think it's a shame that the toilets are not open.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wrigley, I see you've got your hand raised.
I just wanted to come back at the end after the comments to answer some of the points. But whilst I'm here, the Teambridge executive had decided not to close the toilets. It was something we discussed in the early days, so that wasn't closed, which is why it came as a surprise to me to find that they were. So I will take that back to the Teambridge executive and see if I can find out why they have been closed.
Thank you, that would be great. Councillor Dawson, please go ahead.
I think it's a great idea. Obviously, hand hygiene we know is really important at the moment. But I think there's just one issue about infection control. So one thing that's worse than kind of not washing your hands is going to an area that isn't necessarily clean, that dozens of other people have been using to wash their hands, that you're using contact to turn on taps or press buttons, because you're then going to be transferring germs anyway. So I just think it needs a bit of consideration. And if toilets are reopening, then I think we need to speak to Teambridge about cleans every couple of hours in toilets. I don't even know if that would be possible, but even just wipe downs of the hand washing areas. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dawson. Any other councillors wishing to comment? Yes, Councillor Heath and Councillor Woods.
I do understand about the hygiene. Obviously, my wife working at NHS and me being the science-minded person, but this lockdown could go on for a year, but it might be very different than the lockdown we've got now. But we can't have the toilets shut for a year. So I think somehow or other, we've got to find a compromise between locking them up completely and using them. And maybe they won't be able to clean them literally every 2 or 3 hours. It'd be too expensive. I don't know if there's any volunteers we could do with our volunteer system in Dawlish that would go and clean them. But we could obviously put signs up in there saying, please don't touch as much as you can. But we do need, a lot of old people need the loo fast sometimes.
Thank you, Councillor Heath. Councillor Woods, Councillor Main, and then Councillor... Right, so Councillor Woods, Councillor Main, Councillor Ladd, and Councillor Moorhood.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about going back to Teambridge and that. Just in the meantime, is there any chance that we could look to, I know they're very rare, but just the hand sanitizers dispensers to look at trying to source half a dozen of them, and then in the close near future sort of thing, if we can get hold of those, we can dot 6 of those around town. I'm sure people wouldn't mind sticking it on somewhere on their wall or something. In particular, we can do it on ours, and that way we can just fill them up just with a sachet for now. It's just something to do that will make something happen a little bit quicker. And that's it. Done.
Thank you, Councillor Woods. Thank you. I like that idea. Councillor Main, please go ahead.
I basically what Councillor Woods has just said, it would be an idea to put a sanitising station outside of the public toilets so that after you've been in and washed your hands, you can still sanitise them when you come out. I understand that if they're not, if the basins aren't washed out regularly, there's not a lot of point of washing your hands because you're touching things that everybody else has touched. The same as Councillor Dawson said, outside of supermarkets, you're going to be, well, you're not going to be making any difference by washing your hands because, to be honest, you've got more chance of picking something up. But to have these pump sanitizers as you go in and as you come out might be a much easier, practical way of doing things.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Main. Councillor Lowther, you had your hand up.
Me?
Very Lowther, yes.
Thank you. From what I remember, the toilets haven't got taps. You actually just put your hands under and everything goes on. You know, it's drying, water, soap, and then you bring your hands away. So I just thought I'd put that in because then there would be no taps. Nobody's touching things. They're literally, yes, they go to the toilet, but on the hand washing thing, they just put their hands under the water and it all comes out. And the soap comes out and then it dries. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lowther. Councillor Moorhood, please go ahead.
I don't know the answer to this. I can understand the necessity for toilets for various reasons, but when it comes to sanitizers and hand washing, sanitizing fluid is antibacterial, it's not antiviral. This virus is destroyed by the application of soap suds, which breaks down the outside of the virus. And when people use the automatic hand washing in these toilets, and quite a lot don't even bother, the amount of soap which comes out is very small, not enough to really lather up your hands. B, and Councillor Petherick will remember this, the timing for the amount of water varies tremendously, and some of them are scant. And C, when you have semi-washed your hands, and let's suppose you might have a trace of the virus on there, you're then going to stand there with hot air blowing droplets of water straight into your face. So I'm not sure that there is an easy solution to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moorhood. So we've heard from councillors and we've heard from Councillor Wrigley his original proposal. How do councillors think about us writing to Teambridge and to the local shops and Chamber of Trade? So we've had the proposal from Councillor Wrigley. Would anybody like to second that?
Chairman, sorry to interrupt. Did Councillor Wrigley want to come back at the now it's the end of the debate?
Okay, Councillor Wrigley.
Thank you, and thank you for considering it. That's why I wanted to bring it to this group. The resident talked about this. It seemed like something we should consider as a group and determine what we wanted to do. So the proposal stands. I think you've all made very good points. I'm not an expert in any of these matters, and so I wanted to see what we wanted to do and refer it on to others. But I think if we can do something to slow down the passing on of this virus through more hygiene facilities in the public realm, then it's something we should encourage, I think.
Thank you, Councillor Wrigley, and I'm happy to second your proposal. Am I allowed to as Mayor?
Yeah.
Am I allowed? Okay. So I'm happy to second your proposal. All other councillors in favour of going ahead with that, please raise your hand. Thank you.
Unanimous, Chairman.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that item. Okay, so then we move on to Councillor Prowse. I can see you're waving your hand.
Yes, can I take it, Councillor Wrigley, that you will also bring up the matter of the closed toilets at Teambridge? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now moving on to item number 17, the Manor Gardens, to consider what action, if any, should be formally taken by the Town Council in respect of the Teambridge owned land, particularly the Manor Gardens, and the apparent acts of vandalism which are occurring to trees within the grounds. So this, I think this came up actually at a CAC meeting before we went into lockdown, that vandalism had been noticed on a few of the trees in the Manor Gardens. While we've been in lockdown, and when I've been walking through doing shopping for my neighbours, I've been taking photos of what I've seen has been added since lockdown to some of the big trees. And I know Councillor Dawson has also been taking photos and noticing these and reporting them to the town clerk. So this was to put it to you to consider and to discuss what we can do as a town council, and to think about how we can deal with this, because the vandalism, if it carries on, could really affect the health of the trees. So Councillor Moorhood, I can see you've got your hand, and I know Councillor Dawson brought this to the agenda, so I'm sure if you wish to speak, but Councillor Moorhood, please go ahead first.
As you so rightly said, Madam Mayor, this was first noted by civic communities on your report when it was one tree. It has now become widespread, and yes, Councillor Dawson's reported some, Councillor Goodman Bradbury has also reported some. And we have been, and I personally have been in touch with the Open Spaces officer several times at Timbridge. They have great difficulties, as do we do, because of the lockdown. They cannot at the moment put up CCTV cameras. The police are aware of this problem, and he has alerted them again recently. It's very difficult to know what can be done, other than that he did agree that he would ask us, the Town Council, whether we could put it on a website to alert the general members of the public. So as far as I can tell, and from Mark Payne, that's about the only thing at the moment that we can consider doing, and I would recommend that we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moorhood. Councillor Dawson, would you like to add anything, because I know you've been checking all this out as well?
Thank you. I'm not really sure, because of lockdown and all the restrictions, I'm not really sure what the answer is going to be at the moment. I have lots of different ideas that we can engage with the public, engage with schools, about how we need to care for our trees, and approach Teambridge as well for a bit more of a robust plan, although using social media is a great start. But we're so limited at the moment, I'm not really sure how we could proceed.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Heath.
Yeah, just sort of an update. Obviously, it's happened recently as well. Could the person who knows most on it just say for all of us what sort of damage has been done? Is it just like small twigs? Is it whole branches being broken? Are they carving the bark? What sort of damage are we looking at?
Thank you, Councillor Heath. So it's various damage. I have been sending the photos into Andrew. The latest that I've noticed is initials carved into one of the tree trunks. Councillor Dawson, I saw you had your hand up. Please go ahead.
There's a lot of bark stripping, which when we initially looked around with Mark Payne, we did wonder, could this be a ferocious squirrel or pack of squirrels that we need to watch out for? But now there appears to be large, kind of quite wide, long vertical gouges into trees, some horizontal gouges as well that looks like they've been made from implements perhaps, and certainly not a cute little squirrel. I think also as well recently, when I was still going out for a walk every day, the amount of families going out and letting their children get onto branches and be bouncing on them. There's a few trees that are actually, the branches are now permanently on the ground because they've been weakened so much, which I spoke to a couple of people from a safe distance, and it was not received in the manner which I'd hoped.
Thank you. Councillor Heath, please go ahead.
Thanks for that update. It is a worrying thing. I think the problem being is with this manor gardens is that a lot of people locally look upon it as an amenity, which it is, like a park, and you know, children climb up trees, that's all part of the amenity. So maybe not this time, but maybe perhaps when we come back, we need to think what we really feel the manor gardens is. Is it for that, which means they are going to get damaged, or is it more for plants, just aesthetics, a really nice place? Because at the end of the day, although it's Teambridge, it is a sort of private garden, although I know it's only our own little one, it's the real private one. But even our one, you know, dogs come in and do mess and stuff, and perhaps we have been a little bit too loose on it, and you know, we don't want to lose our truths for sure. That's my comment.
Thank you. Councillor Moorhood, please go ahead.
When you yourself, Madam Mayor, first noticed a dog which seemed to be damaging a tree, we drew that to the attention of the Open Spaces officer. And he was not sure at that time whether it was a dog or whatever. And then shortly after that, the incidences increased. Many of them are horizontal slashes with knives, a lot of them on the back of the trees, so you don't even notice them until you go around and look. It's quite deliberate. The danger is that some kind of fungus or other diseases will get into these trees and may very well damage their health in the longer term. And this is at a time when we're actually, with the cooperation between Timbridge District Council and Devon County and the Woodlands Trust, we've actually just recently started major replanting and extra planting up on Sandy Lane and other sites. So I think really we ought to point out these trees are all meant to be for the future. They're so necessary because of climate change. Apart from anything else, of course, they create the oxygen we breathe. But we need to get a message across about how important trees are. Whether it's amenity value or not, they have a cooling effect during climate change. They are habitats for wildlife, insects, which we need. They are so important. Why don't people realize it? And why don't people realize when someone's going out with a knife in their pocket? Sorry, that's just, I feel very strongly about it.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Moorhood. Thank you. Councillor Prowse, I can see you've got your hand up.
Thank you. As Councillor Moorhood would well remember, in the days that she was not a councillor but always attended all our meetings, I can remember when we had new trees put into the lawn and they were damaged to the effect that some of them had to be taken away. So we're not talking, Councillor Heath, about a new problem. We are talking about something that has been going on in this town for a very long time. And it's the same with dogs. There is no excuse now, I don't feel, for anybody to just let their dog out because they're at work all day, because most people are in lockdown. But we aren't talking about new problems. We've looked at them in many ways, as Councillor Moorhood knows. We've done so much work. Every now and again, it just is as though the residents have forgotten what it was all about in the first place. I suppose you could say that if you looked at David Force's photographs of the lawn as it was 100 years ago, there were no trees. The trees were put in, and I'm sure Councillor John Petherick knows a great deal about this. The trees have not been there that long at all. I wouldn't think they'd been there 100 years, to be quite honest with you. But we're not talking about a new issue. We've never found an answer to it. And you are, at this time when people are very bored and don't know what to do with themselves and can't go out to the many things they have, they're going to turn to vandalism. We've only got to think about fly tipping to know that. So I think we're on a long road of which we'll most probably never really get to the end.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Prowse. Councillor Lowther, Terry Lowther, and Councillor Rosie Dawson. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I no doubt that everything that Councillor Prowse said is right, but I don't think we should just accept that. I mean, first of all, it's criminal damage, what they're doing to the trees, quite apart from all the environmental problems and all that sort of thing, all of which is Councillor Moorhead is quite right about. So first, that's a criminal matter, so that's a police matter. We need to get the police doing more than they're doing now. We can't just give up and say, you know, it's not always had trees, so we'll just leave it. We've got to attempt to do something. Also, criminal matter is the fact if they're doing it with knives, they're probably breaking the law carrying knives anyway. So that's at least 2 counts we have to be looking at. So CCTV, police attention, something in the papers, maybe some posters, whichever way to get the word out. There are a good many reasons for these people to stop doing this. If not, they'll finish up in court. I think we need to get that message out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowther. Thank you for your very sensible suggestions. Councillor Dawson, I saw you had your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Just going to echo Councillor Terry Lowther, really, but I wonder if in the first instance, I think we should be able to look at some funding somewhere if we're looking at preserving and protecting trees with all the climate change funds that were buzzing around everywhere before coronavirus. But the other thing is I wonder if we could have a joint initiative with the Town Council, Teambridge Council and the police to have laminated posters that are kindly wrapped around a tree or something saying this tree has been vandalised, have you seen this? Have you seen this happening? This is how to report it, etc., etc. Just to highlight it, really.
Thank you, Councillor Dawson. I really like that suggestion. Councillor Wrigley, I see you put your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Just, I agree with all the points been made so far. This sounds similar to the graffiti problem they had in Teignmouth. In Teignmouth, they offered a reward for information as to who would do it. And when they caught the vandals who were graffitiing certain areas, they put them to work with some restorative justice. In other words, we could get them digging holes and planting more trees elsewhere. So as an option, that is something we could consider as well.
Thank you, Councillor Wrigley. So how shall we go from here? Could we ask either Councillor Wrigley or one of our other district councillors to get together with me and maybe Councillor Dawson or Councillor Moorhead to put a plan together? I know things are going to be slow while we're still in lockdown, but we can start putting things into writing, into documents, into emails, ready for when we can go ahead. What do people think? So I can see Councillor Mary Lowther's got a hand raised. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. This list that you just mentioned of people getting together, it should definitely be Councillor Moorhead. She is chairman of CAC, which is Civic Amenities, and all civic amenities or all amenities in Dawlish comes under her jurisdiction. So, you know, I'm just getting it off my chest because she is the person to lead on it.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Lowther. Councillor Moorhead, please go ahead.
That there is a case for consulting with the members of CAC, as we have done with other committees, not by Zoom, but just getting the idea, the feeling of what they think should be done. But I would just add that I had already mentioned the idea of a reward to our open spaces officer. At the moment, he is the only one working in the department. And I actually even offered to buy two or possibly 3 CCTV cameras, which he thought was a wonderful idea, provided I could get them up with permission and get them monitored. And of course, I can't do that. I'm not insured. It's their land. It's all very complicated. But I'm sure that thinking of Councillor Dawson's idea and looking forward to incorporate things that Councillor Terry Lowther was mentioning, we could put something together for action as soon as possible. And in the meantime, I still think that, and it would depend on everyone else, especially from CAC, but all councillors, that if something was to go from the town council onto Facebook, which the open spaces officer has now agreed that he thinks would be a good idea, just drawing attention to this and asking parents to check whether anyone in the family is going out with knives for a start, and drawing attention to the fact that this is the young people in particular, this is their future, these trees. Climate change is their future. The amenities in the area are their future. So they should be, it should be explained to families as a whole how important this is.
May I just interrupt there? The Town Council has published on its Facebook page, as you'll be aware, the damage that has been done fairly recently, but we do only have 300 followers. We're still in our infancy, although that might change, hopefully, after tonight. I wonder whether it might be permissible for the district councillors to contact the communications manager at Teignbridge for them to perhaps put it out not only on their Facebook page but also their Twitter page, as their coverage is going to be much more wider than ours. They can certainly tag us in it, hopefully get a few more people coming our way to like us, but I think that would be a good start as well to get them to get the wider coverage for us.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Councillor Wrigley, I saw your hand up first.
Just in response to that, I think Sarah Holgate, the resorts manager, is still in post and working and has control of their social media, so that might be an appropriate person to ask to do that.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you. So could I suggest, or could we think about then Councillor Moorhood getting together? I'm happy to be involved. Maybe Councillor Dawson. Anybody else who'd like to? Yes, Councillor Prowse, I can see you waving your hand.
Yes, I've been waving it for a long time. I would have said that Councillor Linda Petherick is chairman of a committee that looks into the town centre, and although I completely agree that this is civic amenities, I completely agree with Councillor Mary Lowther about that. I also think it's part of our town centre, and I feel that if anybody was doing anything, we should be including a committee that we've already got up and running. Have I got that correct, Councillor Linda Petherick? I can't hear her.
We're just specifically about the bear trail and the play area, Ross, Councillor. But we're not doing the trees. I'm not really doing anything with the trees.
You're not doing anything in the town centre. Only once we've got a committee that's already working, it is very much easier to keep, even if you extend the remit of that committee, and obviously including Councillor Moorhood as chairman of CAC. I would just feel that we don't need more committees. We've been down this road before and we have a lot of committees and a lot of people looking at things.
I would have actually thought that Val, as chair of civic amenities, actually looked at it with civic amenities as a project or a piece of work for civic amenities to do. I don't really know why you creating another committee to do that. It could easily fall under the remit of civic amenities, I would have thought, but I don't know what Councillor Moorhood thinks.
Thank you, Councillor Petherick. Thank you. So I was suggesting this because at the moment, while we're in lockdown, Civic Amenities Committee items are coming to full council, which is why I asked for this item to come on tonight's agenda as well. So while we're in lockdown, while CAC isn't meeting, that's why I suggested it. Councillor Moorhood, I can see you've got your hand raised.
I would like to propose that I do what we've been doing with planning committees and F&Gs in the meantime, that I get the civic amenities members to contribute their ideas through me and copy to yourself, of course, and the clerk. And then when we can come up with something, we bring that to the June meeting. However, in the meantime, I would also propose that we follow up Councillor Wrigley's suggestion that we go through Sarah Holgate to, in the meantime, agitate to get Timbridge District Council to disseminate this information and in some way to raise the profile of the problem.
Excellent, thank you, Councillor Moorhood. So, Councillor Dawson, I can see you've got your hand raised, and Councillor Main. So, Councillor Moorhood's made a proposal, but if you'd like to make your comments.
I think I was just thinking about what will happen during this delay whilst we sort out what's going to happen. And I wondered whether people would consider something like asking beach cams to, they're doing lots of walks around the town, and asking them if they would do like a feature walk and focus on those trees. Just
That's
as a more immediate thing to get the word out there, really.
Thank you, that's an idea. So that can be another idea to feed back to Councillor Moorhood for the ideas for her proposal. Councillor Main, have you got comments?
Yeah, I actually would like to second Councillor Moorhood's proposal. I thought that was very good. But Councillor Dawson's piece she's just said now about beach camera, I think that's an excellent idea. So if we can incorporate the two. But I second Councillor Moorhood.
Thank you very much. So we've got a proposal and a seconder. All councillors in favour of that, please raise your hand. Thank you.
Unanimous, Chairman.
Excellent, thank you. So that completes our agenda of our first ever Facebook Live virtual council meeting. Thank you.
Chairman, I believe Councillor Taylor wishes to speak.
Councillor Taylor, please go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see you.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And yes, I just wanted to say thank you to our members of public for joining us on our very first Zoom meeting. I see we've got one of them's just left, actually. Will House has just left. It's a previous mayor who's joined us this evening, a chap called Charlie, and Anne, of course. So whose Dawlish Town Council wouldn't be complete, Anne, without you being here. So thank you all for coming. Howard, I hope you're keeping well too, as Charlie and of course Will. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor, and thank you everybody for attending tonight's virtual full council meeting. I hope you've enjoyed the experience as much as I have. I don't know whether enjoy is the word, but interesting experience. Thank you, everybody. Keep well, stay safe, and I hope your families stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.